But even
Yeah.
martial artists are tribalistic. They believe that what
Yeah.
they do is the best martial art ever, or what they do is the only thing ever. Yeah, they will do. But I mean, there's two levels to this. There's this in-group, out-group, which is classic social psychology. You
Hmm.
belong to a group, so you will basically defend that group to the death because your worldview, your internal mechanisms, everything is wired into that perception of that group, and that
Mm.
extension of that would be where you live and your area. That's one aspect of that discussion. Another aspect
Hmm.
is that groups that have smaller access to social well-being.
Hmm.
So, in other words, they live in impoverished areas. They'll hold on to it a little bit more because they don't have wider access. So they
Hmm.
become much more territorial. So there's sort of the in-group, out-group where you're reinforcing your own worldview and you're surrounded by echo chamber of the same people that are reinforcing that, and then you have a small territory, physical territory that you're occupying. It becomes much more important for you because you
Hmm.
don't stray beyond those borders, and
Yeah.
sadly those borders can be very, very small. So that's the reason why people, and we see it with team sports, for example, people support a certain team, a football team, soccer
Hmm.
team, whatever team it is, and they will fight for that team, even
Yes.
though I mean, you
Yes.
step back, you look and you think, why are you fighting, physically fighting for, because that other team's wearing a different color or they've scored a try or a goal or whatever, what would possess you to do that? But it's because as human beings, we become very tribalistic, and
Mm.
the tribalism can be very, very dangerous. I mean, I don't know if you've ever read Lord of the Flies, but it's a classic literal book, and it talks.
I have
It's
not. It's on my to read list.
yeah, it really is quite frightening. It's about a group of boys. Obviously, it's very gender specific, but it was written in a
Hmm.
different time. They're
Okay.
stranded on an island, basically, because they have a plane crash. They're stranded on an island, and then they become very tribalistic. They become two different groups that live on either side of the island. And
Hmm.
then because they become very tribalistic, the book comes to an end where they end up killing one of the other children in a basically just war. Now, the concept we've seen in many, many different films, but it's a very real
Hmm.
phenomenon that happens with human beings. We become very tribalistic, and even in martial arts, because most of your podcasters, most of your listeners to the podcast are probably going to be into martial arts, but even
Yeah.
martial artists are tribalistic. They believe that what
Yeah.
they do is the best martial art ever, or what they do is the only thing ever. And
Hmm.
unfortunately, the problem with social media in the modern world is that everything becomes an echo chamber where you're surrounded by people saying the same thing, and it also becomes a very absolute. This is
Mm.
this is the only way, versus this isn't going to work. And I see that more so in martial arts than in other fields, and I think it's because there's a lack of critical thinking with martial artists.